Good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. When I first came to Montreal, I saw something curious that I had never seen before. I attended a Shiva Minyan, a prayer service in the home of a mourner, and Kaddish, the prayer for mourners, was said by the mourners, and there was someone there, not one of the mourners, another person who came to the minyan, but he was saying Kaddish for his own parent, and this person was told nicely, don't say Kaddish in a Shiva Minyan, because only the mourners say Kaddish at a Shiva house in a Shiva Minyan. So I want to explain that, and I want to share my opinion on that. Though it is a technical issue, it has a broad implication that I think is relevant to every single one of us. I am grateful to Rabbi Daniel Mann for his essay on this question and for gathering all of the sources conveniently for me in one place. But what I will share with you is my understanding of what halakha, Jewish law, says, and my opinion on this question. Originally, and still primarily, Kaddish is a prayer that is said by mourners in a minyan within a congregation as a way for the mourner to lead a small part of the service, since many mourners are not able or don't wish to lead the entire service, but leading even a part of the service is a merit to the deceased. Kaddish, saying Kaddish, requires a minyan, and it is the mourner addressing the congregation and saying to the congregation, now you should respond with this line, which is the most important line of the Kaddish, which the entire congregation says, Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach La'olam Ulomeo Maya. God's name should be praised and glorified. So, until about 200 years ago, in most Ashkenazic congregations, only one mourner said Kaddish at a time, which makes sense if the idea is for the mourner to lead part of the service. Just like we only have one chazan leading the full service, we would only have one mourner leading a portion of the service, one mourner at a time. This led, when there were multiple mourners, to saying Kaddish more times than was absolutely necessary, so that each mourner could have a chance to say Kaddish by themselves. And this also led to a hierarchy of priority of who should get to say Kaddish before another, depending on for whom Kaddish was being said. So, for example, if there were more mourners than the number of Kaddishes, so preference would be given to a person who is saying Kaddish in memory of their parent before someone who is saying Kaddish in memory of another relative. And inevitably, this led to arguments over who would get to say Kaddish and when, which is the opposite of what Kaddish is supposed to achieve. The last line of the Kaddish, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, God, you who create peace in the heavens, make peace here down below. How could it be that saying Kaddish, which is asking God to make peace, should lead to arguments and fights and disruption over who would get to say it and when they would say it? Because of this, gradually, the practice evolved to allow all of the mourners to say Kaddish at one time. So, there's no need to add extra Kaddishes. There's no need to question who has priority. They all say it together. Parenthetically, it is important for all mourners to say Kaddish in unison and out loud, since it is still the goal for the congregation to hear and then respond to the mourners with this middle line, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, etc. And when I first came to ADATH, it was the practice for all of the mourners who were saying Kaddish to gather in a group near the bima in the center of the sanctuary to say Kaddish together, standing together. I had never seen this, though I thought it was a very good idea. Today, it is virtually universal that all mourners say Kaddish together, except for just a few places that retain that older practice, but almost everywhere, mourners say Kaddish together as a group. And this has led to two shifts, both, in my opinion, positive shifts. Number one, this allows for understanding Kaddish not only as leading part of the service, which it is, but also emphasizing the idea that saying Kaddish means that we are praising God. The mourners are praising God. They say the words, Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei Rabbah. God's name should be glorified and magnified and sanctified. And that in itself is a merit to the deceased. Now that shift in thinking about Kaddish also leads to supporting women saying Kaddish together with men. Even though women don't lead a prayer service in an orthodox minyan, but if Kaddish is simply saying a prayer praising God as a merit for the deceased, there should be no difference between men and women saying Kaddish together. And this explains why there are different opinions concerning women saying Kaddish and different practices in different places. Depends on how you understand the goal of saying Kaddish. And this also explains our practice at ADATH and other places to encourage and to welcome women saying Kaddish. So, to get back to the original question, the idea in a Shiva Minyan for only the mourner to say Kaddish is to return to that original older practice of only one person saying Kaddish at a time. Yes, I recognize that if there are several mourners, they are all going to say Kaddish together. So it's not really fully embracing that older practice, but that's the idea behind it where it exists. However, since that is not our practice today in shul, in my opinion, it is not correct at a Shiva Minyan to tell another mourner not to say Kaddish. I do not think that is the proper thing to do. And when I personally attend a Shiva Minyan, and if I happen to be saying Kaddish for whatever reason, I say it together with mourners. That is my practice. However, if the mourner makes this request that only he should say Kaddish, or even if someone else says that only the mourner should say Kaddish, then it's my practice and it's my opinion that that should be followed, simply out of sensitivity and to preserve peace. Because the worst thing to do at a Shiva is to do or say anything that might create an argument or even a disagreement. In every example of a mourner doing a mitzvah to give merit to the deceased, it is always more important to preserve peace and to prevent arguments. Sometimes the best way to honor a loved one is to not say Kaddish, and preserve peace. My friends, I want to wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.